Hey everyone, and welcome to the Hazy Sports podcast. We're back, season 2, Charlie. It's been a nice break over the summer, but it's been about a month here since I've seen you. How's your summer been going?
Going pretty good, Jason. We're just starting to ramp up all the winter sport tryouts and busy, but today's a pretty big day too. This is the last Sunday without NFL football for the next 5 months. So I'm chomping at the bit, I guess to say, to get into the NFL season. How's your
Yeah,
summer been?
yeah, it's been great. Nothing too crazy since the wedding. We had a nice week at the cottage up at Miller Lake on the Bruce Peninsula to kick off August, which was great. Did a lot of kayaking, some bocce ball, and just had a nice chill week up there. Other than that, getting a fair amount of golf in. And even getting my tennis game on point here.
Now, when you were up there, did you see the Chi-Chi-Mon?
No, we didn't go that far. Where we were probably half an hour south of Tobermory, but I have seen it before. Never been on it. My dad just got back from a trip to the Sioux and was on it. He loves taking that. Shaves a little time off the drive and gives you about 3 or 4 hours where you can just read a book or relax. But yeah, have you ever been on the Chi-Chi-Mon?
Yeah, I was once when I was young with my grandparents, and I don't really remember too much about it. Quite an experience.
It's been a good summer, but it's good to be back here. It's been a month since we talked last. Kind of going through the dog days of summer in terms of sports, but now we've got meaningful baseball ramping up. We got NFL season less than a week away, and yesterday we had the official kickoff to the college football season. So you can feel the shift in the energy out there, and just this sort of that fall season feels pretty good when these sports start ramping up.
So I'm at the end now of 2 weeks of vacation, and most days I tried to do as much as I could. Use the time that you have. Yesterday was a total write-off. I was up at 7 o'clock. I watched Chelsea versus Fulham. Then I watched Tottenham versus Bournemouth. That rolled right into Texas, Ohio State. And then as soon as that was over, it was the Jays Brewers. I'm probably going to be on the verge of divorce here shortly. But like
You
I
better get that lawn cut this morning and
it was
clean up around the house a bit.
it was like seventh inning of the Jays game, and I'm like, I haven't even gone outside yet today. Like it was pretty bad, but they were all pretty interesting games. So it was he got roped in. So I'm gonna try and be a little more productive.
Yeah, there's not as much on the schedule today, but it was pretty exciting with number one ranked Texas and Arch Manning, all the hype around him coming in against the Buckeyes. Yeah, it was just great. It turned out to be a bit of a defensive battle, and they were hyping it up as the greatest opening day college football game of all time. 0 points on the board in the first quarter. Texas didn't get their first touchdown till pretty much the end of the game, and Arch Manning looked a little out of his depth. Not that I'm hitting the panic button on him there yet, but obviously just the hype around him, the expectations were probably a little bit unrealistic.
It was a bit of a dud for sure, but all due respect to that Ohio State team. Like they shut him down. He had nothing going on. And then, they started to go into a little bit of a safer mode towards the end. And I'm thinking, holy shit, he might actually come back here. But yeah, I think he'll be okay. I'm with you. I don't know that the hype necessarily met the game yesterday, but it was good to have it back. Did you see
Absolutely.
did you see any of the pregame stuff with Lee Corso?
Yeah, I did see that.
Like I respect the guy, but that was pretty rough. Like I know he wanted to be there, but I'm hoping now that like that's all they do, because it was a tough watch at times, but glad to see him out there. But he's definitely got to shut her down now.
Yeah, I think it's time to move on. No, I agree. I think it wasn't the most exciting game, but I was telling Sarah I felt like a kid on Christmas morning just seeing the field out there, that perfect fall weather, the hearing the band, seeing the teams run out. You're just, oh wow, it just feels like it's been so long since we've seen real football that just feeling that energy, and I love this time of year.
Yeah, we're getting into like sports mania here, right? Like football starting up. You already got hockey. The OHL guys are already doing preseason. We got meaningful baseball. It's awesome.
Yeah, you go for a whole summer of all your typical sports podcasts that you listen to. There's really not much content on there, so
No.
it's cool to have something interesting to talk about. And yeah, we're less than a week away from NFL kickoff, where things really get ramped up.
The weirdest thing yesterday, so I'm watching that Ohio State game, and I know you say you record and zip through the ads, but there was an ad for NFL on Fox, and it didn't advertise a game that they're showing. All it said was Tom Brady NFL on Fox. That was the commercial. And I don't know about you, but he was absolute horseshit last year. Like, he's probably the worst announced team. Like, I don't even know who his partner is, but he's so bad. And that's what you're advertising. Like, there was no mention of a game, no mention of a season opener, just Tom Brady, NFL.
He was definitely not very enjoyable to listen to. He did, I thought he got a little bit better over the course of last year, but I almost thought he might pack it in and just focus. I know he's got some ownership ties there with Vegas. There's tons of great guys there to fill the void.
I couldn't believe, and now maybe they don't know what games they're getting yet, but just to advertise that Tom Brady will be speaking seemed like a rare miss by the
Yeah.
NFL.
Well, we'll see if Tom, in his sophomore broadcast season, can step it up a little bit. One other funny thing, watching the highlights, one thing I got a bit of a laugh was on the Oregon Ducks game. Do you know what their mascot, Puddles? He comes running out onto the field and trips and his head falls off, like his mascot head falls off. And so that was kind of funny to begin with, but what really kind of I thought was funny was, as soon as his head fell off, he gets up and he sprints back into the tunnel, like in this panic to conceal his true identity. And it was almost as if like Bruce Wayne was fighting crime and his mask got ripped off and he was exposed.
It did seem pretty weird. And the weirdest part too was the head was only like 2 feet away and he didn't even think to grab it. He just booked it. So I did find that odd that he was so concerned about his identity. Maybe we'll find out he is a superhero or something.
Maybe you find out Puddles is just some guy that works down on a construction site down the road.
Maybe he's got a criminal past and he doesn't want.
It makes me wonder if there's like this James Bond style hiring process for these mascots where they have to be sworn to secrecy. Maybe he has like a special tunnel that he comes into the building in to maintain his anonymity.
Old Puddles I didn't watch any of that game, but was he back out to do the push-ups?
I didn't see, actually. I just saw the highlight of his head falling off and him freaking out. But anyways, I thought
hopefully Puddles can recompose himself and get back in there.
Switching gears to baseball here, I think you went to a Jays game not too long ago. How was that?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. It was awesome. I went a lot of times when the team wasn't great and the stadium wasn't great, and it was just a horrible atmosphere. But this is the first time I've gone since they've done all the renovations and stuff. And they've done an awesome job. Like, it's just a cool place to be now. There's so many things to do in the stadium. Obviously, it helps. Like the game I was at, they won 14-2. There was a bunch of home runs. Crowd was super into it. But they've actually made it like a fun thing to do. Now, it's not cheap, that's for sure. Like at one point, there was 6 or 7 of us there. So we were taking turns buying rounds of beers. And I think it was like $92 or something for, at the time, only 5 beers, which, that's a lot. But no, they've done a really good job. Obviously, it helps that the team's winning, but what they've done with that, old concrete monstrosity that literally had no appeal to it all. And now you look around and there's all these cool little venues on each different deck and stuff. It's definitely more of an event now. So if you get a chance, definitely go. Have you been recently?
I went last year and yeah, I felt the
Okay.
same thing. It was early in the year, so they weren't really, a contender at that point. But I was impressed with what they've done there, and I think it would be cool to be there, like you were when they're in first place in the division. They're
And just to have a crowd like I can remember going and there would be like 8,000 people there, and there's no fun or enjoyment. And then you get there and like we saw a couple pretty massive home runs and the whole place just going crazy. And then they just put on a good show now, and it's quite an event to go to now. It's I
Now they
would
used to have the radar gun there where you could pay $10 and throw 3 pitches and see how fast you could throw the ball. And of course, you'd always have a few beers in you and think you were turned into Nolan Ryan, and then let her rip. Next day, you'd feel like your arm was about to fall off. But did you do any radar gun tests?
No, we were sort of looking for it, but we didn't see it on our level, which is probably good because having not thrown a baseball in probably 15 years, I can imagine my UCL or whatever is involved in Tommy John surgery would probably just turn to dust. It'd be like breaking up a saltine cracker, I'm sure, at this point. So luckily, no, we didn't see it. But the other cool thing too is they've moved the Saturday games. They used to always be at 1, now they're at 3. So you can actually get down there and go and get something to eat and have a drink or whatever before, and then you get in there. After the game, we actually walked down to the waterfront, which they've actually done quite a bit of stuff down that way too. Like I remember all those concerts we used to go to down at the warehouse and stuff, where it was pretty sketchy after you left those things.
Yeah.
And now they've actually done some work sort of in that area. So good job.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you had a good day and a good experience down there. Yeah, our little side bet between the Tigers and the Jays still pretty tight. I think when I looked this morning, half a game separated them. So yeah, that's going to be exciting. We've got about 20 games left in the season, and again could set up for a nice playoff showdown between the two.
It's kind of crazy. Neither of our teams are playing that well at the moment. The Tigers were out west, so I was watching the Jays and they blew a couple, and I expected to wake up and you'd have a 3 or 4 game lead, but somehow Oakland stifled you guys there a couple nights. Yeah, I believe the Tigers are 79-58 and the Jays are 78-58. Where it's going to come down the home stretch here.
Nice. Well, yeah, that'll be fun. So we've chatted a little college football, a little baseball. Our weekly hazing is going to be an NFL edition here, so we're going to kind of break everything down and get the table set for the upcoming season. Before we get there, though, just a little hockey news to touch on here. Again, kind of related to the NCAA. We had another high draft pick with Roger McQueen commit to Providence College, so that just the drip of top-notch CHL talent moving to the NCAA continues. Yeah, any thoughts on that?
It's getting crazy. So this morning, just for the hell of it, I looked up Penn State just to see the driving distance if we wanted to go to see one of those games. It's only about 6 hours, which isn't too bad. But I was looking at tickets, and the level of talent has now crossed over into the price of the tickets. Holy shit. Like I was looking at, it was a Saturday against Michigan State. So obviously a pretty high profile game. And you're looking at like Leaf ticket prices to get into these games. It's
Wow.
insane. Now that said, you're only, probably a third of what is available to a Leaf game. So I get the price there. But yeah, this isn't going to stop, right? Like, we're going to talk about it later, but I think you're just going to see more and more of these kids go, and why wouldn't you?
Well, and a lot of the guys we're seeing make that transition are guys that have already been drafted. So the leaders in the CHL are kind of positioning it as well. The CHL is still the best place for development to kind of get you to the point where you get drafted.
Sure.
And then some of these guys are going off and doing their almost like a finishing school sort of in the NCAA to get that last little prep for the NHL. But obviously, McKenna's in his draft year. He's a bit of an exceptional situation there. But Adam Ventilli from the Kitchener Rangers, another
Plenty.
draft Valenti, sorry. What did I say?
Ventilli.
Ventilli.
Close.
Adam Valenti, sorry. He basically told the Rangers he was opting out of his commitment to the OHL, and he's now heading down to Michigan to join them. And he's a guy expected to be sort of a mid to late first rounder this year. So that could be even more trouble for the CHL if we start to see guys in their sort of pre-draft years switching over to the NCAA.
Well, and we mentioned it before, like if you can go somewhere and play at a, I would say just as high, maybe even higher level, but play less games, right? So your chance of, a freak injury, you get hit hard, you blow your shoulder out, whatever. Why wouldn't you go? Like, I think this is just going to keep happening. And the weird part is too, is the Kitchener Rangers, I don't know if you saw it, but they kind of threw them under the bus too. They put out this weird post, which, it sucks for them because they did trade for this guy and now that trade's got to be canceled and all this other stuff. But they basically kind of called him out as kind of a shitty move to do a week. Like they put out the thing saying they're wishing him a good luck and all this stuff. And then at the end, it's too bad this happened a week before training camp. Like I was surprised they put that in there, but I don't know.
I was listening to a podcast with where they were interviewing the commissioner of the CHL, and basically he didn't have a lot to say other than we don't know how this is going to work out, but it doesn't seem like they have a real plan from anything I could get from that interview. His big argument was if you want to like prime yourself to play in the NHL, playing higher games in the CHL, the 4 rounds of playoffs, you're preparing your body and mentally for the long grind of an NHL season versus the NCAA. But I don't know, feels like a tough argument in terms of is that really the best way to prepare yourself for the NHL versus high-end training facilities, high-end nutrition, physiotherapy, shorter schedule, and higher level talent that you're playing against, and probably going to be higher profile too in terms of just media exposure.
And you're playing against men, right? Like there's teams you're going to play in the OHL where it's a lot of 16, 17, 18-year-olds, whereas you're going to here and you're playing, guys that are more developed. I think the OHL and the CHL is in big trouble, but we've said that many times already.
Yeah, we don't need to rehash all of that again, but it's just more, we're just like keeping an eye on the trend here, and it seems like each time we come on a podcast, there's another high profile players. So we'll continue to watch. The other thing we're doing for season 2 here, just switching gears a little bit, and we haven't really talked about our format for season 2 that much, Charlie. We're changing it up a little bit, whereas we've been pretty much hockey focused, with all our podcasts up to this point. And primarily that was because when we started it last February, right around 4 Nations, the NFL season was pretty much done. Hockey was in full swing and then right into the playoffs. So it was kind of the focal point. But for season 2, we wanted to bring in a few more sports, both of us being big football fans. We wanted to include a little bit more football talk. Do you want to talk about, from your perspective, sort of what you're seeing for season 2?
Yeah, like we're still going to be, I think we'll still be pretty hockey centric just because the schedule for hockey lends itself to discussion more than the NFL because we'll pretty much always be a week behind. You know what I mean? Like it'll be hard to record on a Saturday and recap when the next game's already the next day. But yeah, I definitely want to do some football, and then depending on how our seasons go, like we could be talking baseball into October too, right? Although baseball's a weird thing. It's pretty regional. Like once my team's out, I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably not gonna watch a whole lot more baseball. That's the one thing where football has really they figured it out where even if you don't have a rooting interest, you're going to watch. I don't know if it's just the limit of games where you're that engaged.
I think so. I think the combination of, fantasy football has helped, and we're not into that as much, but even the gambling element is just football is such a perfectly suited for gambling, and having all those games on Sunday for just sort of this, full out viewing experience where you kind of have, you do develop a bit of a rooting interest as you're in pools over the years, fantasy over the years, betting. So yeah, they've kind of nailed it that way. But yeah, I think for season two and beyond, we really want to just be talking about the things that you and I would be talking about if we were just getting together and hanging out off the air. So yeah, most of the time that is primarily focused on hockey and football, but you never know what comes up throughout the year, and there's ebbs and flows to each season. So there's points of the hockey season where there's not a ton to talk about, and then same with the other sports.
And we do plan on doing a lot of Saturday night live shows right before the puck drops for the big hockey nights, because those are always, usually every team's playing on a Saturday. So we'll do, a pop in for 30 minutes and
Yeah,
pregame.
our Hazy Night in Canada
Yes, sir.
live. Yeah, we dabbled with that with like we'll call it a bit of a pilot last year. I think we did 3 or 4 live episodes where it was fun. We were just kind of working through the technology and production side of it, so it was a bit more of a test. But now that we've kind of got the tech side figured out, we'll put a little bit more emphasis on those.
And we want to have some guests on those if possible. And I do want to mention that we will have a golf insider that will be coming on before the 4 majors. So look for that if you're a golf enthusiast, because I know he's a golf enthusiast, and he's excited about that.
Yeah, and often some money to be made if you have that sort of inside scoop on the betting front. So we'll yeah, I can't follow the PGA Tour from all the events throughout the year, but I definitely get hyped up for the 4 majors, especially the Masters being the big one. So yeah, that'll be fun. And then, kind of talking about things that we normally talk about when we're hanging out. We love a good trivia question. And so that's one new little segment we're going to try to work in here is a little sports trivia. Um, I've got the first trivia question here now. The way we're going to do it is I'm going to ask the trivia question here in the intro before the weekly hazing, and then I'll give the answer in the outro. So if you're listening along, stay tuned to the end. You'll get the answer, and you get a little time to think about it.
Think it over.
We'll try to come up with something relevant and topical. And so for this week's trivia question, it's actually related to NFL MVP winners, past winners, because Charlie and I are going to be getting into our best bets, who we think is going to win this year. So the trivia question is really for you. I'll pose it to you, Charlie, is since they started giving out the NFL MVP trophy, there's only been 3 non-quarterback / running backs that have won the MVP. How many of those the question is, can you name all 3, or how many of them can you name?
Okay.
So think about that. There's the three players that haven't been quarterback or running back to win an MVP. So
Okay.
yeah,
I'll think about them.
You think about that, and we'll come back in the outro with the answer. Okay, so with that said, time to jump into our weekly hazing, NFL style.
Wave it off. Fuck, let's go. Fucking wave that stick at me again, you're gonna fucking eat it. Karen fucking teeth. You wanna get knocked out again? We got a guy for you.
Okay, kicking off the weekly hazing this year, we got biggest movers. And so, Charlie, we're going to start from a big picture, looking at teams here. Which teams do you think their stock's rising the most for the year, and which team's stock are you selling for this year?
All right, I'm going to give you a selling first.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't see how this is possibly going to work. Like, I don't know how many Jets games you watched last year, but Aaron Rodgers does not look like he wants to play football at all. He looks like he doesn't want to move. He doesn't want to get hit. I know Mike Tomlin's got the big winning season streak going, but I don't see any way how that team's going to be over 500 this year. I just don't think he's got it anymore. I don't think he gives a shit anymore. And that's a tough division. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Steelers?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards agreeing with you there. There is some of that old Aaron Rodgers magic that you think might make a comeback, and with Tomlin there, kind of Tomlin's always been good at coaching sort of those big personalities, could bring out the best of them. I just think from seeing him physically on the field last year is like that magic's gone. I'm sure he can still throw a nice ball, but in terms of just moving around, and I don't think he has that great of weapons in Pittsburgh either. Like DK
No.
Met, they got rid of Pickens, brought in Metcalf. Personality wise, I can't see Rodgers and Metcalf really having a lot of rapport there. They just seem like kind of polar opposites. And from just a franchise standpoint, I know they're not going to lose on purpose, but Pittsburgh needs to get away from these 500 records or just above 500 squeaking in the playoffs. Maybe be a shitty for a couple of years. And they can get back to, being the classic Steelers that are Super Bowl contenders every year. They can get back to that point pretty quick, but I don't think they can do it with this sort of, 500 squeaking into the playoffs type of record.
No, you can't middle forever, right? Like at some point you got to either rebuild or just, shut things down. So yeah, Steelers for me, they're on the downward slope.
Well, I'll give you a team I'm buying in low, looking to see a really nice bounce back this year is the 49ers. They only had 6 wins last year. I think, it was just one of those seasons from hell. Everything that could have went wrong did go wrong, but I still have faith in Kyle Shanahan. I think a healthy Brock Purdy, is going to help them a lot. They still have a elite level defense. They're only 1 year removed from going to the Super Bowl. And so I think they still have that top-notch talent. They're in a division that's up for grabs, and they've got a relatively easy schedule. So it just feels like, I'm not saying number 1 seed in the NFC or anything like that, but I definitely see them back in the playoffs. And if they get the momentum going, especially if CMC stays healthy, I could see them potentially making another run to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with you there to a point. I don't know. Their receiving core doesn't really stand out. Like, I guess you're banking on Pearsall and what's his name there? Ayuk. Is he hurt again? Like, I don't know. I definitely agree with the schedule and they're clearly well coached. I just got to see these guys actually stay on the field for sure. Okay, I'm taking another team I'm gonna sell on, and that's the Minnesota Vikings. Somehow their pick to win 9.5 games, that's their over under. And I just don't see it. Like, I know Kevin O'Connell there is a great coach and he worked magic with Sam Darnold, but I don't see how you can pencil in a guy who's never played a regular season NFL game for almost 10 wins in McCarthy. I know they got lots of weapons and they have a pretty solid defense, but that division is completely stacked. Right?
Yeah.
Like the Bears are probably the easy out, and I think they're going to be a pretty decent team this year with the new coach and new systems and everything. Like, as far as best bets go, Vikings under for me is like an absolute lock because I don't see them winning 10 games in that division and in that conference.
Yeah, that's actually one of the teams I had written down. Like, somehow they pulled off 14 wins last year. I agree for all the things you just say. Like JJ McCarthy, I'm not saying he's going to be shit, but I think it's going to take him a little time to get going and to double-digit wins with a rookie quarterback in a tough division. It's hard to see that happening.
I mean, prove me wrong, JJ.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, I hope that he does. I can't see it. I think you got to go through some growing pains. Like, look at Caleb in Chicago. Like, everyone thought he was the next Patrick Mahomes, and he struggled mightily in his first year. So I just think McCarthy's going to be in over his head a little bit to start, and maybe he figures it out, but 10 wins, there's no way.
Yeah, I agree with that. So the other one I'm taking in terms of selling, it pains me to say this, but I'm selling a little bit on the Lions, not so much that I don't think they're going to be good, but more just in comparison to their projected win totals. And and just like a come down from last year where they were, a 15 win team. I still have them firmly in a playoff spot, and I actually think it's for the better. I feel like they just went like all in on that number one seed for the NFC, and almost at the cost of resting some guys and being healthy, and just kind of going like too much in on the regular season. And it kind of reminds me of the days when like the Manning and Brady rivalry was going on, and Indianapolis would always like go into the playoffs with like a, almost perfect record. And Belichick would almost use all of September. They'd go 2-2 in September, just like working things out, and they would be really focused on being at their best in the playoffs. So I'd kind of like to see, I would actually be happy if Detroit came in a little bit more under the radar and focused on coming in healthy and playing their best football when the playoffs roll around. So I have them as and 10-11 wins this year, especially with the Packers. I think they're going to be a lot tougher. So yeah, we'll see. And just with both new offensive and defensive coordinators, I think that'll work itself out, but I think it could be a little bit of they might not come out of the gates quite as strong as they did last year.
And just the division being so much better, right? Like you kind of had a few easy wins, against the Bears last year, and they're going to be better. But yeah, I agree. I think the Detroit will still be there at the end, but I don't think they're going to dominate like they did for sure. So for teams on the up, in my own team's division, the New England Patriots, I think are going to be dangerous. Like they finally got a competent head coach. They got some weapons now. They're going to have a crazy defense. I don't expect them to compete for the division with Buffalo, but I do think they're going to be a tough out for sure.
Yeah, that's the other team I had written down too. I mean, they only had 4 wins last year, so there's obviously lots of room for the bar to move up, but it wouldn't shock me if they snuck into a wild card spot. I have a lot of faith in Vrabel. He's a culture guy, that he's going to be able to like really make some improvements from the coaching staff there. And McDaniels is a great offensive coordinator. He's still there, right? I believe, right?
Yeah, he's in.
And
and the rest of the division sucks. Like the Jets are going to suck, and Miami's going to suck, and Buffalo always has a tough time going to New England. So I can see 3-4 wins for them right there.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a fun team to watch, and just the raw talent of Drake May will be interesting to see with a better coaching structure and support there, combined with just having a full season under his belt. Yeah, that'll be fun to watch. Let's get a little more granular and talk about some specific players, storylines, not so much of like the big picture, but just when you tune on, Sunday NFL, what teams are you most excited to watch, and what storylines are you most interested in following?
Well, I've already sort of mentioned it, but I just want to see the continual downfall of Aaron Rodgers. I loved seeing him like miserable last year, and I just hope it continues. I don't know what happened, like why I dislike this guy so much in the last few years, but he went from just a top Hall of Fame level quarterback to now just this whiny, miserable, cranky guy. And I don't know if it was the going on Rogan and going off about all the COVID stuff, but he drives me nuts, and I just want to see him get hit endlessly.
Not to jump ahead, but we'll be looking at sort of week 1 matchups that we're most looking forward to. And the Steelers are playing the Jets in week 1, which should be interesting. Obviously, Rodgers playing against his former team. But apparently there was quite the meeting between Aaron Glenn, the new coach for the Jets, and Rodgers there, that they wasn't too pleasant, and it sounded like they didn't part ways on the best terms. So I think there'll be a little animosity there, but we'll see. I think a team that I'm interested in following, there's a couple, but the Green Bay Packers, obviously with the Parsons move just coming through, they were the youngest team in the league last year, and they had a pretty good record last year. So you think just with another step forward, they've got great coaching. Love in their quarterback is definitely turning into one of the better QBs in the league. Now they have, one of the best defensive players in the league coming in there. I'm a little nervous as a Lions fan seeing them twice a year, but it's going to be an interesting team to watch and follow.
You know what the weirdest? I don't know if you saw the Jerry Jones press conference after the trade. And he was talking about, if we have these draft picks, we can go out and get a Pro Bowl player. And I'm like, well, you just had one. You had probably the best guy. Like, I don't know. When I first saw it, I thought, I guess that's good. First round picks are always good to have. But then he's only 26. The guy is unstoppable when he's healthy. And you just traded him to someone in your own conference. I know Dallas isn't, they were maybe a fringe playoff team at best this year, but now you've taken away the focal point of your defense and given it to an up and coming team that, it didn't work out so well last year, but now with Love with more experience and they got all these young receivers, I think Green Bay, I'm with you. I think they're going to be fun to watch for sure.
One of the other teams I'm always a bit fascinated with, I don't know why, is Cincinnati. I think I just love watching Burrow and Chase, that connection, and Burrow, just the confidence that he plays with is always fun. Now they got, one of the better receiving cores in the league. So they're just fun to watch offensively, a little bit of a, train wreck on defense at times, and
but that's what makes it so fun, right? Like, you're never going to get you're never going to get one of those 9-6 games with these teams, because since he's going to let, the other team score so much that Burrow's just going to be forced to launch the ball. And they've got so many weapons too.
Aside from the Lions, when I'm looking at all the other games on, I always want to seem to lean towards throwing the Bengals game on.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
How about you? Any other teams, or do you want to get into a few players you got your eyes on?
The other team, like I'm always interested in seeing the Chiefs, because they keep saying this will be a down year. This is going to be, that division's supposed to be better this year, which I think it will be. But I think a lot of people are talking shit about Mahomes, and I kind of see a redemption kind of season going on this year. So as a Bills fan, they're always a thorn in our side. So I don't know. I think people are kind of overlooking them, if that's even possible. Like, they keep making the Super Bowl, but you're not hearing as much talk about the Chiefs, and they're always one to keep an eye on for sure.
Once you get good for so many years in a row, it's not interesting for people to talk about you anymore.
Yeah,
but you're right. Yeah, they almost felt like they had a down year last year, even though I think they had 15 wins and made it to the Super Bowl. But when you think back of the Chiefs' year last year, you don't really think of a dominating performance. I think it was just because the way they were winning games wasn't in their typical sort of, high-flying offense where they're putting tons of points on the board. But yeah, you're right. It's easy to forget about them, and they may be ready to remind us all how good they are. Well, getting into a few players that I'm excited to watch, and I'm going to be a little bit of a homer bias here because the two guys I wanted to talk about are for the Lions, but just following them a little more closely. And one guy is Jameson Williams. So this is his third year in the league. First full year, he was out with injury. Second year, he had a suspension for 2 games. But so even missing 2 games last year, he didn't have crazy totals in terms of receiving yards and touchdowns, but his explosiveness was crazy. Number 1 in the league, yards after catch per reception. Number 2 in the league, yards per reception. Third in the league in yards per touch. And first in the league in touchdowns over 50 yards. He had 2 of them that were 70 yards plus. So the game-changing explosiveness of this guy, coming into his third year, a full year healthy, not exactly a sleeper pick, but just has that potential to do something special this year.
A home run hitter. Yeah, he always seems to be open. I don't know if it was the combination of the guys they had and the play, that was drawn up, but he just always seemed to be wide open, him and St. Brown. But yeah, he's a home run hitter for sure on those deep balls.
What about you? Who you watching?
I'm excited to see this Ashton Genty. Like, I watched a couple Boise State games last year, and the guy, like, he takes contact. Like, he looks like an old school running back where he's gonna make you hurt if you're trying to hit him. And I just think he's gonna be, I don't know if he'll be one of the best running backs right out the gate, but I think he's going to be pretty exciting. Like, I don't think it's going to be an Adrian Peterson type first year, but I think he's going to be one of the more exciting rookies to watch for sure.
Yeah, and I think I've enjoying football more with the resurgence of the running back, where, it felt weird there for that 8-year stretch where they were almost irrelevant in terms of, just from a production standpoint.
Absolutely.
So the other Lions guy I wanted to highlight here for you, Charlie, I'm not sure if you've been following him too much. A 3rd-round pick from this year, Isaac Tesla, they pronounce it. So he's a Michigan guy, born and raised, played a couple years of college in Michigan, then got transferred to Arkansas. Lions picked him up in the 3rd round. He's 6'4" with 4.4 speed. In his college career, he didn't drop any passes. So he's got great hands, and I know it's only preseason, but he's been playing awesome in the preseason. So check out the highlights pack of this guy. He's a great athlete, great hands, Michigan guy, so he's a perfect fit for the Lions offense. They've already slotted him in as the wide receiver number 3 behind JMO and St. Brown. So they recently traded Tim Patrick, who was a pretty good receiver there last year, to make this spot. Apparently, just everything I'm hearing, the Lions have a ton of confidence, love what they've seen in the preseason. I think he got a touchdown in every preseason game. Again, I'm not trying not to overstate preseason, but you can just tell from watching, the hands and watching the guy that he's got something special there. So I think the Lions might have had a little hidden gem here in the 3rd round.
Like it. All right, I'm going Homer too, and it's probably not a guy who's going to get a lot of snaps early on in the season, but it's another wide receiver like your guy, and that's Tyrell Shavers. This dude is just a burner as well, and he got a bit of run at the end of last year. And if you're getting to like week 15, 16, 17, and you're looking for guys to bet touchdown scores, when some of the starters aren't in there, I'm telling you, this guy is going to make somebody some money late in the season because he's a big dude and he can just burn it down the field. So look for Tyrell Shavers for the Buffalo Bills.
All right, cool. So we've talked teams, we've talked players, storylines. We're going to get into our MVP predictions and Super Bowl predictions. But before we do that, I guess, huge news is that we should touch on is the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift engagement. What are your thoughts on this one, Charlie?
I get what the NFL's doing here, trying to really hype this up. But the worst part for me was the NHL official accounts, because they went to that one Stanley Cup playoff game and there was all the pictures. The NFL or the NHL felt it necessary to tweet out that picture and say, congratulations on your engagement. And I'm just like, who is this for? Like, I don't understand who this is for. When it came out, I told my daughter, who is a Taylor Swift fan, and even she was like, I don't care. So I don't know. Like, I know they're trying to capitalize on the, maybe draw in some Taylor Swift fans. I don't know. The whole thing drives me nuts. Like, it from the constant cutaways to her in the box at the playoff games and stuff. I'm hoping they can just get married. I think this is Kelsey's last year, right?
I think so. Yeah.
At least we only got to endure this for another maybe 6 months and then it's done. So I guess congratulations.
I'm trying not to be a hater. I'm happy for them, and I actually don't find her as annoying as the two Kelce brothers. I find them a little cringy at times, and maybe just a little overexposed. But I'm happy for them, I guess. But I'm sick of hearing about it. This will be the last we bring it up on our podcast. So let's talk about MVP predictions. Who are you expecting to have a big year? Your boy Josh Allen coming off a reigning MVP. Does he go back to back, or do you have somebody else in mind?
No, I'm going off the board here, and you already mentioned it. I think this is Joe Burrow's year to win the MVP. And right now, he's plus 650. Like, this guy is going to be throwing the ball every week all over the place. He's going to put up insane numbers. I think they have an outside shot of possibly winning that division because I don't think their schedule is too difficult. And I think he's going to put up an insane season. And at that, like, that's a good value for a guy who's going to be throwing nonstop.
I like it. And I decided to go NFC with my pick because the AFC is just such a bit of a meat grinder with so many good quarterbacks in that group that I wasn't sure if they'd almost cannibalize votes a little. I went with Jordan Love, or as like a little bit of a long shot play, but more as a value play. He's plus 1,600. So basically getting 3 times the value of any of sort of the favorites. I think, Allen, Mahomes, Jackson, Burrow are at the top for good reason.
Yeah.
But I just from a value standpoint, getting almost like 3 times the payout with Jordan Love in an NFC where I think from a quarterback standpoint, the top spot is pretty much up for grabs there. I could see them having a big year record-wise. So,
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll see how that plays out. And now, kind of the big one here: Super Bowl predictions. What are you thinking?
Okay. So playing off what you just said, I have the Green Bay Packers going to the Super Bowl versus my Buffalo Bills. Now, this is all contingent on Buffalo actually locking down the 1 seed because I think that's going to be the most important thing. But like you just said, the AFC is such a meat grinder. If you can somehow get that by and avoid a Cincinnati or avoid a Baltimore, Kansas City until you get to that championship game, and I just think Buffalo's finally got some depth at the back, and they got some depth in the middle, and they got so many weapons. And, obviously barring any sort of major injury, I just think this is the year they get back there. So I'm taking the Bills over the Packers in the Super Bowl.
Nice. I've also got the Bills. I'm picking the Bills from the AFC, and I'm taking them against the Lions here. I think this is the year that it's going to happen. Maybe I'm a little impartial with this pick, but and maybe part of it's kind of the matchup I want to see. But for all the reasons you said, I do think it is. The Bills have a really good shot at it, and even the Lions, like, I think they've still got all the talent to get the job done. I love the culture there, and I actually think if they could come in, maybe coming in a little bit under the radar. I think the NFC is a little bit up for grabs. Philly scares me, Green Bay scares me, but I think Detroit gets hot at the right time. They have just as good a chance as anybody of getting there. So I think this is the year. This is kind of maybe the one window we actually would have to see that matchup. So kind of a dream scenario from an entertainment standpoint, and that would make for some great discussion on the podcast. So we'll see. We're now on record here with our predictions. If we're way off, we just won't bring them up again, and if we get them right, we can we've got that little sound bite that we can play towards the end of the year.
I like it.
All right, well, that wraps up the weekly hazing, a nice thorough NFL edition to get us fired up for week 1. Time to switch over to the weekly report card.
I've been reviewing your work. Quite frankly, it stinks. These reports you handed in, it's almost as if you have no business training at all.
All right, kicking things off, I've got a D for people smoking weed in public. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-drug. Do all the drugs you want to do, but we got to start having a little more, awareness as far as when we're going to fire up a big bat in public. And I have 2 examples of this. And one was a while back. I took my kids to the Santa Claus parade here in town, and all of a sudden, all you can smell is weed. And I'm like, really? Like we're at the Santa Claus parade. But more recently, I was out walking my dog, and about 2 blocks away from our house is like this arts camp where they have a bunch of stuff that happens outside. And I'm coming up the side street, and all I can smell is weed. I'm like, holy shit, is there somebody behind me? And it was so strong. I turn the corner, and there's an old dude sitting at a picnic table right out front of this art camp, just blazing it. While somebody who works at the camp was going around picking up like sidewalk chalk. And I'm like, buddy, you got to move away from where the kids are. So a D for smoking weed in public.
I'm going to go with a D for magazine prices. When Sarah and I were going up to the cottage a few weeks ago, I thought, I might pick me up one of these football magazines just to flip through while I'm having my morning coffee. So I'm going in expecting, $5, $6, $7 maybe for a magazine, and $18 for this ESPN magazine. And I just a little shocked. You can get a Pulitzer Prize winning novel for that price. It's no wonder magazines are going out of business. And I checked just to see if it was a one-off thing with ESPN. So I looked at a Time magazine. It's $20. $20 for a Time magazine. D for magazine prices.
Magazine tariffs.
Yeah.
All right. I got an F for corn on the cob. I know. So we're getting towards the end of the summer, so I won't be eating it anytime soon. But I can't think of a more overrated meal or part of a meal as corn on the cob. Like, it's messy. It's not even that great. And then it's always stuck in your goddamn teeth. And I don't even remember liking it that much as a kid. I don't get it. I don't find it satisfying. Usually the first bite, you're burning your mouth anyways. And at the end of the day, you're just basically eating a bunch of butter and salt to make it taste good. So for me, F, corn on the cob.
I'm going to go with an A+ for my boy Sergei Fedorov, who's now having his jersey retired by the Red Wings. Pretty cool story. Defected to Detroit in 1990 as one of the first Russian players to come in. And for me, as a Wings fan growing up, just from the nostalgia perspective, I feel like Fedorov was right there behind Yzerman as kind of that, one of the core guys that I remember bringing that offensive flair. He actually won a Hart Trophy and 2 Selke trophies, and is the only guy ever to win a Hart Trophy and a Selke trophy in the same year. So was kind of like one of those first guys to be, really well known for their offensive and defensive capabilities, to the point where the one playoff run, Scotty Bowman actually had played him on defense for significant amounts of time in the playoff run. And yeah, and part of the Russian Five too, another cool part of the Fedorov legacy, which that group sort of revolutionized the way hockey was being played at the time. Awesome documentary too, if anybody hasn't seen that. It's called The Russian Five, and it kind of goes through that whole time of when Fedorov defected over and all the cloak and dagger stuff going on there, and how they used that to get the rest of the Russian guys there. But anyways, pretty good run for Fedorov there, and glad he's going to have his jersey retired up there with the rest of the legends.
All right. Yeah, that's a good one. I got a C for the F1 movie. I just watched it this morning when I got up. It's Jerry Bruckheimer, and you got Hans Zimmer doing the score. You can't really go wrong there. The story was a little soft. Like I felt the actual movie part was kind of shitty, but all the racing scenes and stuff like that were so well done. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Like there's parts there where he's getting into the car, and like, I'm not a claustrophobic dude, but when they're like locking him in and there's so little space, and however they filmed all those racing scenes was like top notch. They could have probably worked maybe a little harder on the story. Thought it was pretty cheesy, but like as far as the action goes, I thought it was a fun watch. I mean, it was pretty predictable. Overall, I'm going to give it a C for the F1 movie.
Nice. I'm going to give an F for having to pay for bags at stores. I feel like this was something retailers started doing under the guise of environmental concern of not giving out bags. And They've somehow managed to turn that into a whole new revenue stream for themselves. The most recent example that put me off a little bit is I was at the mall a couple weeks ago grabbing a few things, and I'm at Sport Check, and I got a sweater, it might have been 80, 90 bucks. So I get up to the counter and they're like, "Would you like to buy a bag for $2? Are you good with
$2.
carrying it around?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, carrying around this sweater all through the mall is a really great option for me." And I just spent $80 on a sweater. You can't just give me the bag. You're gonna, charge me $2 extra. And it's not that the $2 is gonna make or break me financially. It's more the principle. And I've just noticed it at every store you go to. I feel like they've gotten rid of bags for free, and now you're on the hook for $1 or $2 for every bag that you need.
And not to mention now, where I used to have just a ball of plastic bags, now I have a whole fucking container full of these reusable bags that always seems to be in the way. It drives me nuts. $2.
Yeah, so they're usually cheaper than that, but that's why the Sport Check one stood out as like $2. I'm like, go fuck yourself. I'll carry the sweater back out to the car and then come back in the mall and do the rest of my shopping.
All right, my last one. I've got an F for Fanatics hats. So I know everything's gone up in price, but I was scrolling through whatever, and this ad came up for a hat from Fanatics, and it was a navy blue hat with a patch about the size of a postage stamp. And it wasn't even a team. It said National Football League. And I'm like, who the fuck is buying this? And then I scrolled down and the price was $68.99. If we make a clip of this, I'll put a picture of the hat in because it's easily the ugliest hat I've ever seen. And who is buying a hat of a league? Like there's not a team emblem on it at all. It literally just says National Football League. And the little clip beside the hat said, support your NFL fandom, $8.99. So hard F for Fanatics. There's no way anyone is buying that hat.
Oh man, that's brutal. Even the gear they do for the NFL, I don't know who's in charge of the hats, but each year I'm always interested to see week one, they're always got the new swag. And I'm always like, who designed these hats? They just come up with the ugliest looking things.
Well, especially if you go on to any sort of social media, there's always these people that will recreate logos and make merch and stuff. And they're doing 100 times better stuff than these companies can do. And I'm like, somebody should hire these people.
Well, my last one, I'm giving it a B, is for these rivalry jerseys. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
Not saying we need more jerseys, but I feel like they did a pretty good job on them. I thought the Bills one was kind of cool with the all white. There's a few good ones. The 49ers one was pretty good.
I love the Bills helmet. That looks sick with the silver and the white.
Yeah, so I think I'll give it a solid B because I do think the designs are cool. But I'm not giving it an A because I don't know if we really need more jerseys and things to buy, but I did think they were pretty cool when I saw them. Well, I think that wraps up everything for our report card for the week. So now time to get into our outro. And I know everybody's been staying tuned to hear the answer to our trivia question here.
So I was thinking about this. The only name I can think of would be like a Lawrence Taylor. Did he win an MVP?
Yes, he's one of the 3 non-quarterbacks or running backs to win.
Okay, so, and I'd throw out Jerry Rice, maybe?
Good guess. Shockingly, no wide receiver has ever won MVP.
Wow.
So Jerry Rice finished second twice, and Cooper Kupp actually had a pretty good argument there for it a couple years ago.
Hey, I know one. There's a kicker, isn't there?
Yes.
I can't think of his name, but I remember seeing that, and I'm thinking, what a shitty year that must have been.
Well, that's why I was shocked that Jerry Rice never won it, but a kicker did. I'll give you a little background. Lawrence Taylor won it in 86, the year he got 20.5 sacks. The Giants won the Super Bowl. Kicker Mark Mosley won it in 1982. It was a strike-shortened season. He played for Washington. and they only played 9 games. Washington finished 8-1. He hit 20 out of 21 field goals, and they gave him the MVP. And then the only other guy was defensive tackle Alan Page, 1971, played for the Vikings, part of the Purple People Eaters, and he's the only other defensive guy to win it. So that was the year he beat out O.J. Simpson.
Juice.
He beat out the Juice. The Juice did win one. So I thought that was an interesting one while we were kind of talking. I was surprised that no wide receiver had ever won it.
That is crazy.
As a little bonus one, I'll put you on the spot here. Do you know who has won the most MVPs?
The most, I'm going to say, an easy guess would be Montana.
Good guess, but he only won 2. Actually, Peyton Manning has won the most. He won 5. Rodgers is second with 4, and then there's a bunch of guys with 3. Anyways, everything you ever needed to know, wanted to know about NFL MVP, I think we covered it here. Yeah. All right. It's been fun catching up with you here, Charlie. Shaking off the rust, getting back into the regular routine, and getting geared up for football. We're recording this on Sunday, Labor Day weekend, which means we're only 4 days away from the kickoff to week 1. Looking at week 1, any bets or any just games that you're excited to watch?
Lots of good matchups. I'm excited to watch the Bills because they're always fun, and it's a hell of a matchup week 1 against Baltimore. But here's my bet for the weekend, and lock this in because I think this guy's value as far as betting goes is going to dramatically drop after he has a big week. But it's the Broncos -7 with RJ Harvey to score a touchdown. I don't know if you know that name, but I think he's going to be the feature guy in Denver. And if you pair those two, it's an alternate spread because I think the Broncos are 7.5, so I'm knocking it down to 7. But that gets you plus 260 right now. So a good way to start off your week 1. They're playing Tennessee. I think they're going to shut Tennessee down, and I think RJ Harvey's gonna have a hell of a game. And if you want to take a long shot on Rookie of the Year, RJ Harvey is plus 2,700.
I like it. There's a lot of anticipation around the Broncos this year. So thanks for the tip. I'm going to have to look into that. I haven't got into any bets yet, but just a couple games I'm looking forward to. You mentioned it, Bills-Ravens on Sunday night. That's going to be a battle of the heavyweights right there. In the 420 slot, you got Lions-Packers, another great game, division rivalry here. And then in the early games, we've got KC and the Chargers, which should be a pretty good matchup there. So another good divisional games. We've got some great games to kick off the first week. We are going to be doing more bets as the week gets closer and throughout the year, but those will be on our Instagram and TikTok accounts. So if you're interested in following along there, make sure to subscribe. Other than that, I think that kind of covers everything we had for the week. So good to be back at it. Good seeing you, Charlie. Hope everybody's excited for week 1 NFL. We'll come back for an update at some point. We're still working out our sort of season 2 schedule, but we won't be too long. So until then, enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you soon.